The article starts with her talking about a recent post where she described a fiction book she'd written that changed her life. And loads of the comments said things like, "Can you summarize the book? Can you give us a TLDR? Do you know what I mean? What's the main takeaway?" And it annoyed her. And she quoted here, "It's like someone asking me to summarize a kiss, or requesting the bullet points of grief, or demanding the key takeaways about laughing until your stomach hurts." This idea that we're always trying to break down and boil down life, literature, art, media, everything down to like something we can just consume instantly, because we've been trained to do that because of algorithms and the nature of the content we consume a lot in this world. And it's dangerous because it then makes us feel that way about all things, about our work, about, you know, our education, about our relationships, about our relationship to ourself and self-work and our emotional health. We want everything now. We want it as simple as possible, but things don't work like that. Things take a whole lot of time. And she branched off to talking about this same narrative goes into how people want like 6-minute abs on like fitness YouTube, and they want like the key hack to be confident, and like instant hacks to feel confident, or the key tricks to discipline, or all these kind of things. And that's not how it works. The reality of things is things take a lot of time. It takes patience. It takes consistency. It takes failing and recovering and learning. And it's just not as simple as what you can learn in a 20-second Instagram reel. Everything is sped up. And that's not how true art or true wisdom or true courage or true charisma or true discipline is built. These things take a long time. And she wrote, "We want the wisdom without the patient work of becoming wise." Now, I want to go and let me just open up my page here where I wrote a bit more about this, because I want to give her like true credit to the exact way she wrote it, because I thought it was fantastic. She wrote, here we go. "We want the wisdom without the patient work of becoming wise. The same brain that begs for bullet points also craves the magic pill for discipline, the secret formula for confidence, the productivity hack that will finally make you into the person you think you should be without all the tedious becoming. We've built temples to the lie that you can skip the line on your own life, that growth is just another thing you can Amazon Prime to your doorstep. But you can't download courage like an app. You can't install comfort like new software. You can't debug your character flaws with a simple restart. We are not machines, and the messy work of becoming can't be automated away, no matter how many gurus promise you that it can. The things that matter most, love, wisdom, skill, character, resist compression for the same reason great literature does. They exist in their full particularity, in the accumulation of small moments, in the patient repetition that looks like nothing from the outside but is everything on the inside. The athlete knows that strength comes from the 10,000th repetition, not the first," and I relate to that a lot. "The parent knows that trust builds through bedtime stories read with the same enthusiasm for the 100th time. The artist knows that mastery emerges from the willingness to fail beautifully, repeatedly, until failure teaches you something failure alone can teach." I mean, how fantastic is that as an excerpt? And I promise you I'm getting to the final section now of what I wanted to say. But the problem is, we're either not taught, or we lose the skill, or we don't develop the ability to just take time to understand things very deeply. We don't have the attentional capacity to sit in the complexity of things. There's a term called continuous partial attention that she talks about in the article, which is the fact that our attention is just flitting between loads of things. Between, you know, we're eating food while we're scrolling on TikTok, or maybe we consume 30 quick videos, where our brain has to process all of that going on, even if it's not conscious. And then I move on to my final point, which is Martin Heidegger, the philosopher, had this concept known as dwelling, right? And he talked about dwelling in the concept of places. That's why I said I'd bring back to it when we were talking about a place changing. But dwelling is the practice of remaining present with something long enough to let it reveal itself fully. So Heidegger thought a lot about, you know, sitting in nature. You might see it in the surface, but the more you sit there in a natural space, the more you see, the more you notice, the more the natural world appears to you. But I think we can dwell not just in physical spaces, but in intellectual and emotional places. How often do we skim past things and not really dwell in the significance of an idea that we've learned or an emotion that we've experienced? And I link this to everything in my life, right? We return to the same ideas on the podcast a lot. We've talked a lot about things like play, things like the fool archetype, the left and right hemisphere. These same concepts have appeared in multiple episodes, but it's because we're dwelling in them. The more we talk about them, the more we let them manifest themselves fully, the more refined our understanding of them becomes. And then you can think about in the craft you base your life around in your work. You can dwell in the fact that, you know, I'm an athlete, and I can dwell in the world of basketball and train consistently for a decade and let that art form fully manifest itself in my skills over that time. The most meaningful parts of life open up the more you explore them and dwell in their complexity. And they are accessible to all of us, because it might be a job, it might be your romantic relationship, it might be your relationship to your parent, it might be your best friend, whatever it is. We all have things that we're not paying real close attention to. We're trying to compress them down. But instead, if we dwell with them, we dwell in the complexity, we pay close attention, and we allow them to open up to us, then that can open up a whole lot of meaning and fulfillment in our life.
Mm-hmm. Wow. What was the author's name?
Her name was Malvika, and she writes Learning, Loving, Meaning Making on Substack. But we'll leave the link. We'll leave the link in the show notes if people want to have a look at this article.
I think it, on the surface, it makes sense to squeeze the value out of things, but often the result, when you squeeze the value out of something, it's like the thing is 2D, is not 3D, it's very limited, it's very, it's like you know the thing without having to do the work to do the thing. And it makes sense. It really does make sense to squeeze the value, because it's going to be the highest leverage of your time. But it's almost like it's knowledge without any kind of application, because the TLDR of the book is the knowledge of what the book is about, but you read it in context of all these different characters, and that would be the application of it. And so then I think it forms why we have a lot of people that are maybe unable to start something, unable to sort of follow their dream, because they have just never applied anything they've learned. They've just, in the spare time, in the content that they consume, they know it. You could talk to them about it, and they'll come at you with a kind of an automated answer without much thought. But it makes it really hard for them to then transform and apply that. And as you were listing examples, I thought about get rich quick schemes and why are they alive? Do people not realize that it's not going to be the result that you're sold to? MJ DeMarcus says, don't buy get rich quick scheme, study how they sell it to you. And it's even, I suppose, if it was to work, it's not the process of getting rich. You're not inhabiting it as like fully. You don't understand all the complexity, and so I mean, I don't think they do work really. So then you kind of pose the solution as this idea of dwelling, which I do like. And the context of us, I think of Jordan Peterson thinking and about the same ideas for 2 decades, and why he's able to back those arguments up without much prep. He knows it because he's thought about every single different argument about it, maybe, or every counterpoint, and then the counterpoint to that counterpoint. So we need to dwell on things and, I guess, eliminate the compression. Well,
I think when we boil something down, we kill something in the meaning of it, and we may retrieve the information, the summary, but we don't get the wisdom and the meaning of going along that pathway by ourselves. I think the literature example is so true. Imagine if you read Harry Potter just based on the blurbs on the back of the book. It's not, you're not experiencing it. And this tendency to do this, if that branches into our lives, it's a wrong way of thinking about things. I mean, your ideal, your business example, right? It's like, imagine somebody wins the lottery, okay, and they just get that money instantly dropped into their bank account. That's a completely different world to making it in business and putting 2 decades into something and failing after, multiple times in a row and struggling to get things off the ground, and like all that personal experience, all that wisdom you'll gain is just put to the wayside when you win the lottery and the money's just dropped into your account. It's like mistaking that all it was about is the outcome, and that's not the case. And in like the fitness example that she like briefly mentions in the article, is like, if you think that you get in good shape by like eating superfoods like blueberries and like doing 10-minute ab workouts, then you're not actually going to go through the arduous process of like showing up to the gym 3 times a week every week for 5 years and go in when it's like raining and it's winter and you don't want to and you're tired from work. There's like so much complexity within things that we just want to gloss over. We just want the summary. We just want the surface area. And, it's like mistaking the map for the territory. That's one line she uses in the article. It's like, imagine, like you said, right? Go on.
It's like learning the skill, but not the meta skill.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I'm a guy that I like depth, right? I like depth and complexity. And that's why I see that in things, and I find so much meaning in this podcast, because we get to talk about something deep that we've observed, maybe from something mundane and small. We see the layers underneath it all. And so I would hate to live my life just seeing everything so surface level. Everything, there is so much. That's why I think Heidegger's point is so true. There is so much deep depth in everything. And if you don't dwell with it, if you don't sit with it, if you don't allow it to fully manifest itself, you don't give it that time and you don't remain present with it, then you're just leaving so much on the table that you could access, because you don't have the attentional capacity to just sit with things. And, it's like I thought about it myself and I'm like, well, that's why, like, trying to summarize a podcast or conversation that we do into a 20-second clip, people just misunderstand it, because they're not dwelling with like that hour-long discussion where me and you have like 4,000 times and have just danced around the point and then come to this conclusion, and it's like a tennis match where we're going back and forth bringing in ideas. They miss all of that. And so it's summarized into a 20-second clip of me saying something, and it doesn't make much sense. And that's for the same reason. It's like we're trying to live our life through 20-second clips rather than hour-long conversations. We're just trying to pick out what we can from things without truly dwelling with them. And, the people we admire most, the historical figures that have done amazing things in whatever field, the athlete, the artist, the writer, whatever, the innovator, the entrepreneur, they have all sat with their craft for thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. And that's why they've discovered new things, or they've invented and discovered a new pathway towards growth and innovation, is because they've just dwelled in that practice. And it's like, I think about people who start a podcast and do 3 episodes and then get bored because nobody listens. And it's like, well, that's, you're trying to make a podcast because you want people to listen to you. That's stupid. We are dwelling with the idea of just having a conversation every week and trying to figure out how we view the world.